Day one of NBA free agency is behind us, and the New York Knicks, they did not make a move. But if they do, if the Knicks make a move on day 2, day 3, day 4, or day 35, we are making a video on this channel. So subscribe and help us get to 26,000 subs on New York Knicks Now by Chat Sports. You are watching Knicks Now by Chat Sports, and I'm your host, Marshall Green. And I just want to ask a question. Can we relax? Can we all just relax? Let's do it right now. Let's breathe inside, and let's let it out, because there are way too many people overreacting right now about the New York Knicks. We're going to break down all the news and rumors surrounding New York. Brian Windhorst, he spoke about James Harden and the likelihood the Knicks could deal for him. We have some news on Derrick Rose and who he's going to be playing for next, if you haven't already heard. But let's start with the Knicks in free agency. The Knicks' plan was always to sign Donte DiVincenzo. And whether they did it at 6:01 p.m. or midnight, 4 a.m., or they do it next week, if they sign Donte DiVincenzo, that is going to be the move. So if you are upset they didn't make a move in day one, and you're upset they didn't make a pick in the draft, well, you're just SOL. They are going to sign Donte DiVincenzo. And when they sign him today, tomorrow, or next week, you know what's crazy? He's still going to be Donte DiVincenzo. He is still going to be the same player that averaged 9.4 points per game last year for the Golden State Warriors and connected on 39.7% from three. Would it have been fun for the Knicks to sign DiVincenzo and get day one of free agency and get that adrenaline rush? Yeah, I would have loved that. But why does it matter when you sign him if you're going to sign him? The Knicks don't have cap space. They couldn't have signed any of those big price guys. It's always been about mid-level exception targets. And I'll say this much. Josh Hart did not opt in to his $12.4 million deal and take $6 million less to not sign Donte DiVincenzo. There is a reason Josh Hart opted in, and it's to bring the big ragu to the big apple. When you talk about Donte DiVincenzo, a lot of people bring up that the Knicks don't need another guard. They already have too many. Well, how about in Game 5 against the Miami Heat? How many minutes did Jalen Brunson have to play? Oh, yeah, that's right, all 48. What about in Game 6 against the Miami Heat? Jalen Brunson came out for 4 minutes, and the Miami Heat went on a 9-0 swing. The Knicks need another guard. And while DiVincenzo is not a ball handler predominantly, he can get active a little bit in a pick and roll, but he's more so a floor spacer. He can attack in the open court, and he's a great passer out of drives. The Knicks need that. I don't believe we need to be talking about the Knicks have too many guards. A guard that we are going to talk about on today's show, though, is James Harden. As Brian Windhorst of ESPN, Brian Windhorst. Now, why would he do that? He, as always, sat down with Tim McMahon and Tim Bontemps, talked about the latest news and rumors, and he pretty much said, the price is right. The Knicks may pull the trigger. This is what Windy had to say in full. He said, I don't think you can rule the Knicks out of a James Harden trade. I know it doesn't look and make as much sense, but New York might say this might be a way we can inject some talent without it being too expensive. And by the way, the Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell trades, those are over for right now. As I talk to league executives, they are starting to use the phrase, the price of acquisition. If the price is right, I think the Knicks would consider it. And I don't believe he'd say this last sentence if he didn't have a little juice to hear about it. He says, I will just leave it at that. I think the Knicks would consider it. I will leave it at just that. It always comes down to the price. What's the cost of doing business? What would it cost the New York Knicks to trade for James Harden? Have you been watching this show the past couple of days? I think it's pretty evident that I do not want the Knicks to trade for James Harden. But if you can get Mr. Beard to New York for an absolute steal, then I would listen, and then I would tell you no, because I still don't want to do it. But it comes down to the price, and what might that price be? Bobby Marks laid out a trade idea on ESPN the other day of what it could cost the Knicks to land the former MVP. And it's not a whole lot. It's salary filler in Evan Fournier, your backup center in Isaiah Hartenstein, who I love, and one of my favorite players on the Knicks in Emmanuel Quickley. That would be the trade that Marks thinks could get it done for Harden, who is still a good basketball player. The guy is not a scrub. I mean, you don't average 21, 11, and 6 if you're not a good hooper. And James Harden is the definition of a hooper, and he's a guy that can knock down the three-point ball, which is something the Knicks need. The Knicks need more ball handling. They need another creator with the rock in their hands, and they need someone that can make outside shots, and that's what James Harden does. But what concerns me with Harden is the efficiency from the field has gone down in the last couple of years, and it seems like whenever the lights are the brightest, he doesn't play his best. When you look at his stats in the last 3 playoff series, in the last 3 years, James Harden has been to the playoffs every single year. He's going to get to the playoffs. That's what he does. But it's the fact that he has a dramatic dip in production when he goes from the regular season to the postseason. I mean, we showed you his regular season stats the last couple of years, and now you look at his postseason stats over the last 3 years, and they're not good. Just 19 points per game, 8.5 assists, which is great. 6 rebounds is great for him as well, but the efficiency falls off a cliff, and that's what worries me, and the turnovers go up per game as well. Down to 41.6% from the floor, still knocking down the three at 37%, but overall, I want players who raise their level of play in the playoffs, not take a step back. And did I already mention that James Harden is going to be 34 coming up in a little bit? This was the Bobby Marks trade idea on paper. Harden to the Knicks, quickly Fournier and Hartenstein to the 76ers. Look, you're not going to find many players that average double-doubles, lead the league in assists that you can get for Emmanuel Quickley, who I love. I love Quickley. He's a great six-man and a salary filler in Fournier and a backup center. You're getting potentially a guy that was like top 12, top 13, and the MVP for 2 bench pieces. It's intriguing, no doubt about it. Would you do it, though? If you are Leon Rose, would you make this trade? Would you bring James Harden to the Big Apple to play in Madison Square Garden, wearing the orange and blue? Would you do it? Type A for accept, type D for decline. I want to hear from you guys. If you're curious what I'm thinking, I'm declining this deal. I do not want James Harden anywhere close to this basketball team. Let's close out the show on somewhat of a sad note. I was actually a little bit hurt when I saw this push notification. I didn't think he was coming back with the Knicks, but Derrick Rose is signing a 2-year deal worth $6.5 million of fully guaranteed cheddar. Good for you, Derrick Rose. Good for you to go get that bag at this stage of your career. And I like the fact that he is going to the Grizzlies and is going to be able to be a mentor for Ja Morant. We saw when Derrick Rose came to the Knicks, he was that mentor for R.J. Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley and Obi Toppin. So I just want to say thank you, Derrick Rose. Thank you for all the memories. Thank you for all the moments. Thank you for being an awesome professional the second time around with the Knicks. Thanks for being a face of the franchise, and thanks for being someone that was proud to be a New York Knick. It was awesome watching you here. Both stints. I really, really enjoyed it, and I watched you tear up a lot of defenses with the New York Knicks. 152 regular season games for Derrick Rose. 14 points per game for Rose as a Knick when you combine both stints. 3.8 assists, and he was efficient, man. That pull-up mid-range jumper, the up and under underneath the hoop, the gliding and profiling. He was electric. But I'll always remember what he did in that playoff series against the Atlanta Hawks when he was the best player on the floor for the New York Knicks. The guy was a mid-season acquisition for the Knicks. Ended up starting in the postseason after the first couple of games, and he was so productive. 19 points per game, 5 assists, 47% from the deck, and a blistering, white-hot 47% from 3. Derrick Rose, I will always remember you as a Knick. I know you're going to go down to Chicago Bull, but in my heart, once a Knick, always a Knick. Derrick, thank you. We appreciate you for everything you did for this organization. It's not going to be the same without seeing you on the sideline or on the hardwood wearing New York across your chest. Knicks fans, stand up. Show Derrick Rose some love. I'm getting the chills just talking about it. Type his jersey number 4, down in the comments section for Derrick Rose. Thank you, D. Rose. We appreciate you. Thank you guys as well for tuning in to Knicks Now. As always, we're going to be live on the channel in a couple of hours, breaking down the chaos that is going to go down in day 2 of NBA free agency. So lock us in, hit that sub button, turn your notifications on. Don't be a fraud. Hit that bell button so you get alerted anytime we go live, and let's party in a couple hours.